Hello and welcome in to crushthestreet.com. Here at Crush the Street, we cover many of the financial distortions that we're seeing in the markets. And you know what? Today, we're going to talk about success on the micro level in our own personal lives and how to overcome and, how to make it happen for us. And to talk with me about this today is Garrett Gunderson. He's an entrepreneur, not a financial advisor, but a financial advocate. And he's made his way into Forbes, ABC, CNBC, Wall Street Journal. And I say that to say, hey, this guy has some serious credibility. And he's the author of What Would the Rockefellers Do? His website is wealthfactory.com. Garrett, thanks for coming on the line with me today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I, as you say, in all these things that I was on or part of, I write 5 articles a month for Forbes. So I've seen people say they're on those things, but they just advertised in them. So we've actually been on them and featured. And I look forward to our conversation today because I actually am a nerd for personal finance and have a passion for it. Love bringing some energy to it, but really practical steps people could take to immediately improve their life, create more stability and a lot more sustainability.
Well, those are powerful words of wisdom and things that, bring that overall fulfillment in life. So today, the average household with credit cards has a debt balance totaling of just over $16,000, $16,400 as of 2016. And the average household debt of any kind, including mortgages, is $135,000. And that number could be a lot higher because those are just averages. So it's pretty high. And now with ever increasing college tuitions, the odds are against those who are graduating today and having to deal with the current mess. So how hard is it? I mean, from what you've been seeing, for people to get ahead nowadays in general?
Well, part of it's a mindset issue. A lot of people think that if they go to school and make that investment that it's going to work out. I think more and more people are becoming skeptical of that because that promise hasn't quite lived up to the hype. But the biggest issue is that we don't ever get to stop investing in ourselves. And if we stop figuring out our skills and exposing them at higher levels and in a more leveraged sense and start giving up the things that we're not really great at, I mean, it's not the easiest thing to do. But even saying that today it's harder than it used to be, I don't know, because my great-grandfather was a fisherman in Italy that could barely make ends meet, left and came to the United States, lived in a tent, and was a coal miner. And there's nothing really like people, I just don't know those people that go, I love being a coal miner, that's what I was born to do necessarily. But they were also willing to do whatever it took, and they had this mentality where they just dove in and made it happen. Now, we have this kind of perfect storm where we've got artificial intelligence that's going to continue at an even more rapid rate, and that exponential thing that we're used to having jobs become obsolete over time, even though people resist it. But the reality is, with the right mindset, investing back in themselves and maybe even going to school, they could overcome it. Right now, people going to school, artificial intelligence is moving faster, and therefore it's that really tough thing. But to me, it's just going to be, we can't just expect because we make one investment that the rest of our life's going to be okay. I think even more so, we're going to have to invest in our education beyond just school and figure out, because all these jobs are going to become obsolete and machines are going to be doing them. And we've seen that, like what our place is going to be. And so I think monetizing our skill is one of the most underrated, most important things that people have to figure out. I think connection with people is even more more rare these days than it used to be because we're connected on a social media platform, but not necessarily in a human being platform. I just lived in Italy and got to see people connect and be off social media. And I saw, even though there's economic, kind of meltdown there, it seems like that's happening everywhere. There felt like a lot of stability just because people are really close and they're really connected. And finally, people are going to have to start embracing creation. So creation, connection, and really adaptability is that piece of investing that I mentioned in the beginning.
Garrett, you brought up something that is I've been thinking about for some time now, and that is the rate of change and innovation making a lot of jobs obsolete. In the 1800s, it was said that 80% of the economy was agriculture, And today that number is only 2%. And of course, if you would have told somebody that in the 1800s that only 2% of the economy eventually will be agriculture, what a devastating thing. But of course, that's not where the jobs are. So, talk to that a little bit. I mean, I think we all fear the future and what we do going obsolete. But at the same time, is it going to go to robots, in your opinion, or are people going to have jobs out there?
Well, look, we have this where it was slow change, like we're talking about, right? Like the 1800s to today, going from 80% to 2%, that's going to seem like the slowest process ever compared to what we're about to face. And I do think there's some jobs that will be permanently eliminated. But the question is, what things have we yet to invent? What things do we want as human beings that robots can't provide yet? And even if they can start doing certain things, what else can we start thinking about? Because I think that, robots are really good at they can beat any chess champion, but they can't tell the difference between a cat or a dog on the internet. They can't, those little caption things where you put a squiggly line and all of a sudden they can't tell what's the difference between a 1 and an I, yet a human being can. I mean, there's things that they're going to do that I think are going to make our lives massively better, but there's going to be a massive amount of fear and scarcity that comes along with that. So it's just that we're going to have a new world, that we're going to have a new opportunity to create and to connect. So what about human experiences? I think those are going to be more valuable. So I think that, we're going to see more benefit from when human beings can do something, even if it just feels vintage or if it's just something that's brand new, or like, what can we accomplish? And the bar is going to be raised. So, but yeah, drivers might totally be a thing of the past, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's going to be less accidents. I think that we look at the jobs way back in the day that machines do now. They weren't the jobs that everybody loved anyway.
Good points. And not to go down too much of a conspiracy rabbit hole, but there was a recent news article, maybe you saw it, where robots are chatting in their own language, creating, artificial intelligence, kind of taking what they were programmed to do to the next level, which is kind of odd when you think about it, right? So I don't know where that'll ultimately go and how crazy this technology will ultimately get. But let's bring it back down to that personal level, with what we're dealing with, how to get ahead, how families can experience success together. And we know that financial problems are some of the biggest contributing factors to why people get divorced. And many times when you get married, you're young, you're stupid, you're not really thinking about money together until it becomes a necessity in your life. And all of a sudden now you got to figure this out together with someone that maybe isn't financial, has this financial mindset, financial prudent mindset. So how do families experience success together?
Well, we have to recognize that there are different kind of money personalities. Just to make it really simple, the most fundamental piece is spenders and savers. And they do say opposites attract. So there is a lot of times where you'll find one person in a marriage is a spender, the other person's a saver, and that has a major impact on people. So that's one piece. The other thing is some people are just avoiders. They just never want to address money, look at money, think about money. And the other person, if they're a saver married to an avoider, that could have major implications, right? There's other people who are just givers. They just, anytime money comes in, they're giving it away. There's other people that are amassers. And amassers might find savers despicable in certain ways. So you have this kind of unique dynamic that I can give you the platform and the strategy and process, but unless people follow it and embrace it, it's not gonna work. But the thing that I've seen work almost every time, regardless of which money personality, is if you can achieve and create economic independence, which is that place where you have enough recurring revenue from investments or entrepreneurial income, if you're a business owner, to cover basic expenses. And if that happens, it's a foundational piece that gives the person that's an amasser permission to kind of swing for the fences without harming the family. Or has the saver feel like, cool, we're okay, we've got enough money, we're gonna make it. Or has the spender go, great, that's handled. Now all the money that comes in, I'm free to spend. And the other person isn't going to feel like it's putting their entire financial future in jeopardy. So economic independence is really the answer. And the methodology, before you even go through, I can give you 5 steps that achieve economic independence. But I think that you just set up a separate account immediately when you get married. Different than a checking, different than a business checking, and maybe even set up 2 accounts. The first one would be a wealth capture account. And George S. Clausen said in the 1920s in his book, Richest Man in Babylon, pay yourself first. And that's what you got to do, is pay yourself first. And then the second thing is, when you paid yourself first, I have a specific amount. Pay yourself 18%. Now, some people are like, 18%, that's insane. How am I going to do that? I'll show you how to recover cash and reclaim more of what's yours. But you pay yourself first. Then when you hit that 18%, you take 1/6 of it, or 3%, and you move it into a living wealthy account. And that account becomes money that anytime it's in there, you can spend it however you want. It's about the enjoyment of life, that you're doing the right thing. So just getting the habit of paying yourself first eliminates the need to budget, because as long as you're not going into debt, then you already know you're making the savings. Now, to get to that point, there's really 4 main things that you can focus on. Number 1 is saving tax. I'll call that IRS to make this 4 I's. Number 2 is saving interest. Most people overpay on their interest rates if they have any loans. The third is finding and detecting hidden investment fees or commissions and putting that back in your life. And then the fourth one being insurance. A lot of people have duplicate coverages and duplicate costs, and that could be, they could pick that up and reduce that, eliminate that, or recapture that money. So that helps people get to that 18%. And it's progress over perfection. Done is better than perfect. If you have to start with 1%, you start with 1%. If you're deep in dire circumstances, you still pay yourself first, and it might mean that you get late on a credit card. That's better than leaving yourself completely stranded with no cash. So there's the fundamental.
Yeah, good word right there. Garrett, so many people, they're not ready for that. What is it? Is it rare? Do you find it rare that there are those 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds that come out of high school and into college with that financially sound mind? Or are most people just being taught to be consumers and to tread water for their entire 20s and then to just try to dig their way out into their 30s and 40s? What has been your experience with that?
Well, it depends on where they grew up, but I will tell you in the U.S., the culture is definitely consumeristic. It's just, what can get people to spend more money. That's really what's happened to so many people. On the other hand, I do have some hope, because Life University, I put together a financial course for them that the students watch 6 videos in their class. And I had 25 of the students that watched those videos reach out and say, we'd love to have you come and speak. And, my speaking fee is a certain amount. They couldn't have afforded it, but they still came up with $10,000 amongst 25 students to have me go and do a day workshop with them and to watch them taking notes, asking questions. And I've been following up with a lot of them, because that was almost a year ago, and just seeing what's transpired. And it's actually just that it feels complicated because no one's disseminated the information for them. But these guys, they're going to be awesome. I actually let them come to one of our workshops. Almost all of the 25 people showed up, and they had to get a flight to get there. They, once again, took notes. They're implementing things, and they're working on their life and their vision. So it's possible. It's just that most people they don't have that information at their fingertips. And a lot of the financial books that they might read are going to lead them astray. It's going to make them think it's all about budgeting and cutting back and sacrificing, not about them being their asset and investing in themselves, not about creating a compelling vision that has them feel inspired to go out there and do something meaningful in life, not necessarily about them finding out their best skills and exposing them to the world in the form of value creation, serving others and solving problems. And so it really comes down to a complete fundamental mindset shift, where there's either people in the producer paradigm creating more value in the world than they take from it, or people in the consumer condition where they take more than they give. And unfortunately, the school system, the nature of it, a lot of people are being trained to be in the consumer condition where they live a life where it feels like scarcity is the rule and it's the reality, and therefore they're not out there creating significant value. They're feeling entitled like someone's going to bring it to them. And look, we don't get the money rule book when we're born. And a lot of times we take on the behaviors of parents that maybe got that from their parents, which might have been Depression era type thinking, which once again isn't about exchange. And it's exchange that creates wealth for people. So if we're not out there, building substantial value, value is in the eye of the beholder. So we have to get really, really good at saying what is truly valuable to people. What is it that people not only need, but they desperately want and they're willing to exchange for? And what do I have within me that can contribute to that? And forget about investing into these outside things like mutual funds and retirement plans. That's actually slowing people's wealth down. They're not fully invested in what they can do to earn a better living. And one of the fastest ways to have more money is expand your means by being more beneficial to society, not just scrimping and saving. So, even think finance. Most people are in budgetary mindsets, which is a scarcity-laden thought process. It's all about constriction and restriction, and reduction rather than production. Production is the key. No one shrinks their way to wealth.
Garrett, there's this, and I forget the exact proverb, but there's this concept. It's a Chinese proverb. It basically, wealth does not go beyond 3 generations. You go rice paddy to rice paddy. And there's always that first generation that starts poor, works their way up, has the mentality to work hard, to deliver for others, over-deliver, do everything they can. And then your children, maybe that family builds it up, and then their children have a great lifestyle. And then, there's this, I don't know if it's entitlement or what sets in, but maybe the lack of work ethic or what it takes, the value of $1 for what they have, the appreciation for what it took for them to get there, especially that generation. But ultimately, the proverb is that it's going to go back. You're going to spend it, and then a generation is going to blow it. And so how important is financial education for your children, especially if you're the generation that had to go out and do all the work?
Look, there's no doubt that rice paddy, shirt sleeve to shirt sleeve, that's a meme, that's something that we hear all the time. I wrote What Would the Rockefellers Do, saying how in the world did the Rockefellers move? We're on the 6th generation of passing on wealth right now and still growing their estate. What were the attributes? What were the characteristics? Well, the Vanderbilts had more money than the U.S. Treasury and lost it within 54 years, or at least had the first Vanderbilt died broke. So, look, there is a very specific problem that we face. One is most families don't have let's call it a family constitution or a statement of purpose that within an estate plan. So if they get really wealthy, the way that they got there, they're trying to shield their kids from, and so their kids never have the struggles, and therefore they never learn the lessons, and then that's where the entitlement comes in. It's not that they're bad people, it's that their way that they're nurtured isn't the best situation. So even having great estate planning documents and the right kind of Rockefeller formula within that may not be enough. There's this other side of the bridge, as my friend Andrew House says, where we've got to really be looking at our characteristics, our values. We got to be looking at our philosophies. We got to be helping with signposts for these people to learn. So rather than having them just get money automatically distributed to them just for breathing, instead, what if it was treated like a company? The family was like a company where they had to borrow and pay that money back, where they just didn't get it automatically. And that's part of what the Rockefellers have done, and having that family constitution and being around and having conversations about it. But really, what's impactful, one of my good friends, Rich Christensen, just wrote a book called Toes Turn Purple, which talks about when we're dealing with kids, how do you raise great kids? And a lot of it has to do with creating the right rituals and traditions, creating the right symbols, doing the very things that every business would do, but spending that time with them to instill the most important philosophies and then allow them to express that out there in a way of freedom, just like there's a U.S. Constitution that governs, but it gives us more freedom having that instead of just complete chaos and anarchy, or on the other hand, tyrannical, like you have to do it this way, where people rebel. And there's actually that blueprint. We saw it early on in the U.S. We see it with the most successful companies, but most families miss out on that because we talked about it. It used to be an agricultural economy. People worked in the field with their parents all day, and then they saw them all the time. Now everybody flies off, they're working, they never see their kids. And what, they think that kid's just going to grow up and be successful without a good example, without learning some lessons along the way? What they learn is that money's valuable, and that's all that matters, through example. And then they don't identify who they are because they're just going to have that money come in, and then they slow it down. And then all of a sudden they become pretty miserable human beings for the most part, because they never identify their sole purpose. They never identify what they can contribute to society. And this is part of the epidemic we find in retirement. There's a lot of people that aren't that happy in retirement because they retire from value creation. They retire from purpose. And all of a sudden they're no longer in control of their money. So we can see problems all over the place. And it really comes down to something that doesn't sound overly sexy, but it's philosophy. People have to have the right philosophy. It's what governs and dictates our actions, is based upon our beliefs. And if we don't check some of those beliefs, and those beliefs are leaving footprints of failure everywhere, it comes down to individuals have to recognize that who they are, what they're capable of. And in my world, that's sole purpose. Their values, their abilities, and their passions combined for a context of living that's their vision that compels them. You know, the biggest icons in the world don't stop when they make enough money, because they have a purpose that was beyond just the money. People that their purpose is only the money, they're maybe the ones that they retire early, they didn't really care, they didn't relate to the value creation, and they just did it. You know, it's never really the most fulfilling life necessarily.
Garrett, you've given us an incredible amount of really, I think, inspiring information and things that people really need to hear. And I've been looking at your website here. I actually do want to read your book. I just signed up for your newsletter. I want to learn more about what you offer, what you do. Tell them about your website and what you offer.
Yeah, first off, I would say, you can go to Wealth Factory and learn for sure. I'll tell you about it here, but I want to give everybody a gift if you're okay with that. I mean, we've answered pieces, but not the whole puzzle. So what would the Rockefellers do? You can get that if you text 801-396-7211. 801-396-7211, and you put in WWRD, as in what would the Rockefellers do, in the subject line. 801-396-7211. Text WWRD to that number. The download will come in. It's on me. If you'd like a copy of the book, I'm even willing to purchase that for you, as long as you cover your part and pay for the shipping. And then you can actually have a physical copy and check it out. And you can even go to the back of that book, and it'll tell you which chapter most applies to your situation right now. Because if you're like me, I got a ton of books on my nightstand. I've got them in the bathroom. I've got them in the office. I've got them in my backpack, as a matter of fact, sitting next to me here. So I know not everybody's going to read every page, but if you could just at least commit, if you grab it, to read the chapter that most applies to you, and hopefully it inspires you to read another chapter, because I have my part of my family constitution in there just to show examples. We have studies of what the Rockefellers did, and no matter where you're at in life, how you can implement some of those things to get on the right track right now. So it really is a nice blueprint for generational wealth, and would love to contribute that. Wealth Factory, we are really in the business of liberating financially entrepreneurs, showing them how to achieve economic independence, showing them how to change their family's future and their financial destiny, and enjoy and live a life they love. Highly affluent, wealthy people get access to something the Rockefellers invented called the family office, where they've got this entire comprehensive financial team looking out for them. Most people that aren't worth 50 million or more don't have that. So Wealth Factory, we chose to really help those people that normally wouldn't have access to that, and build what we call a virtual family office, where we help them get their financial house in order, recover cash, plug the leaks, have a good financial team, look at everything from taxes and insurances to investments. We're analyzing it. We're not trying to manage their money. So we're one of the few firms that we're not asking for you to give us your money and have us take a fee off it. No, we're not a fee-based or commission-based firm. We're a results and implementation-based firm to help you get where you want to go financially and achieve economic independence.
Well, Garrett, I count myself very fortunate to have had this conversation with you today. Thanks for coming on crushthestreet.com.
Thank you.